Hey, listeners, welcome back to the Mindful Living podcast with your host, Sana, where we explore the paths that connect mindfulness, authenticity, and personal transformation. Today, we are diving into a truly fascinating and heartfelt conversation, listeners. Our guest is someone who wears many hats. Murphy Monroe is an autistic leader in disability justice, a city commissioner of Evanston focusing on ADA compliance, and the executive director of an award winning circus school. Murphy's journey is anything but conventional, and today we are peeling back the layers to explore the profound impact of autism on Murphy's life and work. From redefining leadership to fostering empathy and inclusivity, Murphy brings authenticity, creativity, and wisdom to the table, listeners. And this conversation, I'm very, very confident, promises to be an eye opening, deeply personal, and full of insights that will inspire you to view the world and yourself with a little more deeper understanding and even compassion. So let's get quickly started. So, Murphy, welcome to the show, and it's an absolute honor to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to the conversation and so pleased to be with you.
Murphy, being diagnosed with autism as an adult, it must have been life altering. So, can you share that moment or how that discovery reshaped the way you see yourself and even navigate the world?
Yeah. Life altering is a really good word for it. My life
Mm.
really did in many ways pivot on that moment. Um, so my whole life, ever since I can remember, I've known that I am dramatically different than people around me. I've known that my mind works differently, that I have less control over my body and many other things that to me, I didn't understand. I just knew existed. And really, I saw it as my job to keep all of that a secret, to make sure that I can find ways to get through school, to get myself into college in a way that doesn't ever show anybody the real, true struggle happening underneath the water for me. As I went into a career and started achieving quick success, both in the leadership and higher ed and in the corporate world, it became even more clear to me that what it took for me to do a day's work was way different than what it took for most people around me to do a day's work. And so when that diagnosis came,
Mm-hmm.
what came with it was just a gigantic wash of relief. All of a sudden, all of these things that I had labels and things that I had told myself about myself, how I was broken, how I was imperfect and just not able to do things so many other people around me just do naturally, and not able to control my body in the way others around me are able to. And once I understood where this came from, and once I really started to research and understand and get to know myself better through this lens, it just changed everything for me. It pivoted my career. It pivoted my mindfulness, pivoted the choices I make from moment to moment and how I live out my day so that I can be present for people around me, and I can get myself the type of relief and rest that I need, but never knew how to create for myself before.
Mm. Wow. Well, thank you, Murphy, for sharing this. In a very beautiful way for all of our listeners to understand that moment or the changes happening through the journey. Also, as someone who is leading with both creativity and empathy, how has your experience as an autistic person influenced your approach to leadership and that too in nonprofit management?
Yeah. I've had a lot of leadership roles in my career and in my just life that have developed naturally. And I am a natural leader, but I think in ways that are different than many people are a natural leader. Have ingrained in me a deep sense of empathy, a deep sense of justice, and also a interest in or a ability to think about the interoperational work of things, as complex as it may be, able to really work through um, the dynamics of a team and ultimately who on the team should be doing what and how in order to get us all to where we need to get to. And I did that through empathy, and I've come to that through wanting to understand every single person on my team's perspective and wanting them to understand the perspective of the organization or the perspective of the team or the perspective of the mission, so that every single person not only feels like what they're doing is a valuable contribution and understands why, takes pride in that, but also that every person feels like they've been individually recognized for their strengths or their weaknesses, and that adjustments have been made and it has been taken notice so that everybody feels like they are welcome, they are included, they have a role. And from that place, everybody can move together much faster and much farther, in my experience.
Mm, makes sense. Makes sense. So, Murphy, you own a float spa and you have a deep connection to mindfulness. So, I really love this question. How has meditation and self awareness helped you embrace and process your journey with autism?
Yeah. Yeah, this to me is really gets to the heart of it for me. Um, so yeah, you did mention that I own a float spa, and for those who may not be familiar with floating, it's also referred to as sensory deprivation therapy, which is where a person floats on top of water that is saturated with so much salt that it acts for the Dead Sea. Simply lie right on top of that water and have the water heated precisely to your skin temperature, and then have the air above the water precisely heated to your skin temperature. And then have no lights, have no sound. And within that environment, your brain will lose track of where the air ends and the water begins, allowing for one to be completely deprived of any sense of any senses around them whatsoever, in total silence, in total peace, literally just floating in space.
Wow.
And it was in a float tank that I, for the first time as a grown man, heard my heartbeat.
Oh.
It was in the float tank for the first time as a grown adult that I actually connected breathing to my lungs, an actual sense of what was happening within my body as I breathed. I'd previously been through actor training and all sorts of breath work, but was never able to create a meaningful connection between my mind and my body, between my voice and my diaphragm. And this is because of interoception. People who are autistic, of course, on a different spectrum, lack interoception. And interoception is our body's ability to talk to ourselves, right? So our body tells us when we are hot or when we are cold or when we need to go to the bathroom or when we're tired or sick. And for many autistic people, those body senses just don't come. But in a float tank, in total silence, in total meditation, just lying there listening, without expectation, just listening. In that space, I came to know myself differently than ever before, and started over time to grow a connection between myself and my body that started to manifest itself outside of the float tank. For a good chunk of years, I floated every day. And now I float very regularly because it's inside of that float tank in peaceful meditation that I get the greatest rest, that I get the most relief from the world around me, and that I have connection, meaningful connection across my body, with my mind, able to rise above myself, see my body, see my mind connecting, and begin to understand the world much differently than I was ever able to as a young person. Many things that can naturally to so many other people wouldn't at all start to come to me until the float tank.
Yeah.
And it's has what has led me to mindfulness, has what has led me in so many ways to better relationship with people around me, with my sense of God, and also is what ended up having me purchase a float spa, because it's a gift I want to give others. I want to create that space so that others can come and heal in the same way that I've been able to. And so, and in many ways, it feels like a mission to me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, that's something I think very, very unique and interesting you have shared with our listeners. Well, it sounds really, really transformative. Also, another interesting aspect of your portfolio, if I can say, uh, running circus school. It's such a unique role. With regards to today's context, today's era. So, do creativity and play help foster inclusion and understanding for individuals of all abilities?
Yes, yes. So, as we acknowledge this, a big part of mindfulness is gratitude.
Mhm.
And I'm in a place right now where I have these two roles, two jobs, both at the Float Spa, and I'm the executive director of a really magical organization called the Actors Gymnasium. And it's a circus school just outside of Chicago. We reach over 1,000 students a year and have an intensive professional training program where we have in residence a small group of adults actively working on various apparatus over the course of a year in order to build acts and then enter into the professional circus world through Cirque du Soleil or any number of other organizations. And play is at the heart of it. Absolutely. One of the reasons I love circus so much is because circus shows us that people are doing more than we think they're capable of. When we watch someone do something in circus, whether it's, swallowing a sword or jumping off of a high wire and landing on somebody else's shoulders 20 feet beneath, any of these things are things that most people wouldn't have imagined the human body can do. But circus proves to us that it can. And I think in the world we live in, humans really need to be given evidence that we can overcome. Humans need to be given evidence that we can do things that are harder than we think we can, that we can achieve more than we think we can. It takes
Mm,
creativity, takes discipline, takes mindfulness, takes a lot of bravery.
yeah, it
But I
does.
think the world of circus provides that to us and teaches that. And it's a big part of why I just feel so lucky to be part of it and feel like I'm able to help a lot of people and have a whole lot of fun along the way.
Mm. Really impressive, Murphy. I think one of the many inspirations, the many teachings we can take from your journey is in whatever you are doing, there is a purpose, there is a mission behind whatever you are doing. There is a journey beyond that, and a kind of symbolism of each and every aspect of a human in its own form: mindfulness, self awareness, creativity, bravery, uh, you know, physical strength, emotional strength. So it's really, really impressive, Murphy. Also, another aspect of your portfolio as a city commissioner for disabilities. Um, what have been the most impactful changes you have been able to advocate for, and how do they reflect your personal experiences?
Mm, yeah. So, in my hometown of Evanston, Illinois, I'm a city commissioner, and I serve as the chair of the city's Disabilities Commission, overseeing the work of making sure that the city is living up to its obligations underneath the American with Disabilities Act. And it's in that role that I've had the chance to listen to a lot of disabled community members all around me and get a real sense of the very different lives that many disabled people live than we realize. That are lives that are often interior lives because of all of the doors that we put up physically and psychologically in society to keep people out. And as I've learned more about this, even in a very progressive city like I live in, it just becomes more and more clear all of the different ways that the architecture around us, the rules around us, even just the simple sidewalks around us don't create opportunity for someone in a wheelchair or someone with other types of disabilities in order to fully be a part of the community, in order to fully participate in the life of the community, in order to just be able to attend their own local schools. And so I've done a lot of listening and a lot of work in this regard. And I think one of the things that's real basic, but I'm really most proud of, is that we've really moved the ball forward in helping our city understand the critical nature of having sidewalks that are in working order without cracks, that have clear curb cuts, so that just like anybody else in our community, folks are able to get to the hospital, to get to the doctor, to get to the pharmacy in a way that we've never allowed them to get there before. And so we've really raised awareness about this in our community and are seeing the city respond faster in a way that is meaningful to us. And the other change I think that we've started to make is just bringing out lots of voices, because the more voices that are out there, the more the changes we make are going to be impactful and resonant and long-term changes. But also the better the work is going to become and the faster the work is going to get done if more and more people are given the chance to share their voice, given the chance to tell their story. And so I love being able to circus stories and help make change through that.
Brilliant, brilliant. Great, great, Murphy. On the flip side, some would argue that inclusion efforts can be overly complex or burdensome for organizations. So, how would you respond to the idea that simplicity is sometimes more practical than accessibility?
So that's a tricky one because there's two ways of looking at this. In many ways, simplicity is accessibility. So if in our world we stuck with simple architecture with just universal norms, we would both spend less money and we would have the types of public buildings and facilities that are just accessible because they were built simply with the intent of being for everybody. Now, there's a whole nother side of that. which is because we have a built infrastructure all around us, or a growing infrastructure all around us, depending on where in the world we are. And that infrastructure is unlikely to get significant changes made to it, both the cost of it and the priority for a city of what they want to put their work on, one thing or another. And so the argument becomes harder and harder to make. And I think in many cases, the case needs to be made at the individual level. So that maybe we don't have to fix every sidewalk everywhere. Maybe it's not possible for every restaurant in a town to be accessible. But maybe we can find places that can be. We can highlight those places. We can help those places get seen by other places. And we can find out who in our community lives where and where do they really have to get to in order to live a successful life. And we can start to make changes in those places. And so to me, whether it's big changes or small changes, I think we should keep them simple. And I think we should just keep moving forward and not letting things that feel complex, things that scare us, to stop us. We should just talk to each other, find out what each other needs, and make the reasonable adjustments where and when we can, so we can all participate as much as possible.
True, true. I agree with that. Well, before we wrap up, we conclude with this question that autism is often misunderstood, especially in, countries in India, because there's still lot to do with regards to spreading awareness about autism, ADHD, and other aspects. So, what are some common misconceptions, Murphy, you have encountered, and how do you challenge them in your daily life and work?
Yeah. Autism awareness is a problem around the globe, of course, and different spectrum. But, even where I live, it's still feels like an uphill battle at times, getting people to really wrap their minds around it. So, a couple of things come to mind. One thing is to understand that the vast majority of autistic people you are coming across are in an active moment-to-moment battle with themselves to not appear autistic.
Oh.
This is what we call masking. And, people who are autistic, at least in the United States, adults have a 1 in 9 chance of suicide in the United States. And if you look at the homeless population in the United States, you'll see that the autistic population is amongst the largest of any protected class within it. And that is really because of what happens when one spends an entire lifetime pretending desperately to be something that they're not. What comes with that over time is a loss of self and a loss of resources. To in every situation be holding your body in a certain way, to be counting the amount of eye contact that you're making with people around you, to be having sensory input come to you in extreme ways that are really hard to explain to people, but are real and are overwhelming and make you have to battle through them just to be in the moment with someone. And then on top of that, do your best to have that person not see how much you're struggling. And that's the day-to-day reality of so many autistic people. And this happens because of a lack of awareness. And it also happens because so many of the traits that autistic people have and other neurodivergent people have are unwelcome in many parts of our society. Many things that autistic people do, whether it's the way that we may stim or move our bodies in order to self-regulate, the way we may have Tourettic behavior that comes out vocally or comes out physically, the way we may not be able to filter ourselves vocally the same as others, the way that we may not have control over tone or volume the same way that other people do. And the way that things are much more fact-based, much more rigid, much more black and white for autistic people often makes it difficult to find gray space where everybody can meet in the middle. And autistic people would like spaces quiet. Autistic people would like spaces dimly lit. Autistic people, and not all autistic people, please don't get me wrong, there is a wide spectrum of neurodivergent people. No doubt if you've met one autistic person, then you've met exactly one autistic person. But having low sensory places to be is extremely important for that community in order to just be able to exist in those spaces in many cases. And so I think that one of the challenges that all of our workplaces should take on, that our businesses should take on, and that we should take on in our own lives is how can we help those around us who are neurodivergent to be most comfortable, to be most themselves, and to be most relaxed when they're around us. So they're not pretending to be something else, and they're not struggling in order to exist in that environment. And creating shared spaces and shared understanding where everyone has a chance to be calm, everyone has a chance to be included, and be able to say what they need to say, regardless of exactly how it might sound, are really important things. They're hard things. But those are the types of things that with mindfulness, folks can practice at work, at home, wherever it is, but just practice so that we can all be part of the conversation and we can all have a chance to love and to be loved.
Lovely, lovely, Murphy. Straight from the heart, and such a hard-hitting question to introspect for all of our listeners, and think about this, and go work on this. So thank you for sharing this message, the misconceptions, and also what we can do to help. So thank you for sharing this. And with that, as we wrap up this insightful, authentic conversation on the Mindful Living podcast, Murphy, if our listeners, they wish to connect with you and explore more about the work you are doing, how they can do that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation too. It feels really nice to connect with you and your audience. So the best way to reach and learn about me is at my website, which is murphymonroe.com, murphymonroe.com. And there you'll find contact information for me, as well as a bit of the sense of work that I do. Oftentimes I'm invited into organizations to speak or train, and I'm available to do that type of work as well. And happy to connect with anyone out there who wants to connect. And so thank you so much for this.
Lovely, lovely. We'll have all the details mentioned in the show notes for our listeners. And Murphy, thank you once again for sharing your incredible journey, your wisdom, your passion for fostering empathy and inclusion with mindfulness and compassion. Thank you. Thank you so much. We all appreciate what you are doing for the community, for the humankind. Thank you.
Absolutely. You as well.
Great. So, listeners, as we explored Murphy's authenticity and leadership, his story reminds us all of the power of understanding, creativity, and mindfulness in transforming our lives as well as communities. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. If Murphy's words resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on how you can bring more empathy and inclusivity into your own life. And if you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might find it meaningful. Until next time, this is your host Sana reminding you to live mindfully and lead with compassion. Take care, and we'll see you soon in the next episode.